Seven symbols that are on the Seder table for tonight, and each symbol is symbolic of our plight, freed from bondage into freedom's brilliant light. Unleavened, it's unleavened, matzah baked by former slaves who were so meek. It's the bread of freedom that all people seek. And we only...
All right, so we're here at the Singerman household. This is my mom and dad's home, and we're here for the Passover Seder, which is like our celebratory Passover meal to kind of represent the time in Egypt. And basically, I like Dad and me, but mostly Dad here, Jerry Singerman, to kind of tell the story of Passover and the significance of what we're about to do here. So, go ahead.
Okay, hello again. Last time we did this was during Hanukkah, and Aaron really wanted us to do it then, and he enjoyed it. And he said a lot of people saw it. He said, Dad, Mom, we want to do it for Passover, so we're happy to do it. We are here at our home with Aaron, my son, my wife Lynn, my daughter Dana, her boyfriend David, and we're celebrating Passover. Passover is a celebration of freedom. Freedom from oppression and freedom from slavery, not just for the Israelites, but for all peoples. So we're very happy to make this a universal celebration of freedom. Specifically, it was about the story of the Israelites in Egypt as being slaves of Pharaoh, and he enslaved the Israelites in very, very hard ways, very cruel ways. He was fearful of their numbers growing and fearful of his enemies. And he just decided to oppress these people terribly. And then
he had them build the
pyramids, right? Or just break rocks.
Slave labor.
That's right.
Slave bad treatment.
And it's a story of Moses going to Pharaoh with the word of God and with his brother Aaron and trying to convince Pharaoh to release the slaves. You know, Aaron was a very convincing brother of Moses. And I'm just thinking that, you know, here we have Aaron here, and I'm not Moses, but just think...
Moses had a speech impediment, so if you're going to be Moses, you have to have a speech impediment.
No, I don't want to have a... No, I'm not going to have a speech impediment. But, you know, just think what Pharaoh would have thought if this Aaron would have come and approached him. So, Aaron, what if Pharaoh would have seen this guy, Big Aaron Singerman, Chewbacca Singerman, stand up, come on.
Oh, come on.
Come on, stand up. All right. And what if I, as Moses, would have brought this guy here to go see Mr. Pharaoh? What would you have said to Mr. Pharaoh? Hey, yo, Pharaoh, you don't want to mess with this guy, Aaron. He going to take you down and all the Egyptians. He going to take you down, right?
I think he just said it. I think he just said it.
You don't want to mess with this guy. So anyway, this is Aaron, and I think we would have convinced Pharaoh without using the 10th plague too.
Okay. So, but since we did go through the whole plagues, I think we should at least name them for the people here.
I will do that.
No, I will do it.
I will do it.
You're already the star. You're taking over.
All right, you're a plague. Go.
All right. So we got 9 plagues.
Make it
started with... You're the one that needs to be brief.
Don't explain blood. Everybody knows blood.
Okay, no. So blood was the
frogs. Okay. Everybody knows frogs. Aaron. Go ahead. Yeah, frogs are bad.
How many glasses of wine have you had?
I haven't had hardly yet.
Okay. Blood, the first one was blood. And that means that the Nile was turned to blood, so it was undrinkable.
Right. And that second
Number 2 was frogs, and there was a lot of frogs.
A lot of frogs, right.
Aaron and Moses went to Pharaoh, and Moses said, hey, there's going to be frogs. And Pharaoh said, I don't care. Right. And then the frogs came. There was a lot
of croaking at nighttime. Go ahead. What's next?
I think worse than the frogs would be the lice.
Lice. Everybody
is itching. And it's not good for you.
Right. Lice. Go ahead. Next.
You got to put the shampoo in the hair to get the lice out.
Special comb. Let's go.
Next is the wild beasts. And wild beasts can be dangerous.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with a wild boar. That's pretty bad.
We're supposed to go wild boar hunting in Arlington with a knife.
You don't want to do that. Those guys, the wild boars will...
We're seriously going to do that.
Well, that's the 5th plague. Stay next.
All right, next.
Cattle.
No, it's a cattle plague.
Cattle plague.
And that's important because if you like beef like I do, if you get a steak, you don't want to plague because it could be bad to eat the steak and plague the cow.
You want your cows to be very healthy.
Of course.
Go ahead.
Boils, and nobody wants a boil.
Doesn't look good.
Hail is not that bad, I would say, compared to the boils.
Well, hail will break your windshields, but they didn't have to worry about it back then.
Right. Locust is annoying. I mean, if you have a lot of locusts, that could be a problem for your crops.
Locusts everywhere.
What if you had a lot of crops? You know, they'll eat the crops, and then you have no crops.
And then they'll come after you.
You're shut up.
And then you've got to just swat them away.
And then imagine the next one is darkness. So imagine if there was locusts and darkness.
Not fun.
You can't even see the locusts as they're hitting you.
And they didn't have flashlights back
No
then.
electricity.
All right.
And the next one is the bad one, the killing of the firstborn, the smiting of the firstborn. And so Moses went to the Pharaoh and said, "Hey, we're gonna smite your firstborn." And he of course he had a son himself, so he didn't want his son to die.
Right.
But he didn't believe it. Moses went back, and the firstborn died. And the reason that the Jewish firstborn didn't die, and the reason for the Passover, is the Paschal Lamb.
Yeah, this is the Paschal Lamb. We may have talked about it before, but it's a symbol of God's might, the symbol of sacrifice at the earlier temples, and the Israelites were told by Moses to put the blood of the lamb on their door so that the angel of death would not enter their home.
Pass over.
Yeah. You know, we're joking and we're having a little fun here, but these were 10 horrible plagues that caused tremendous suffering. But it wasn't until the 10th plague did Pharaoh decide, okay, you can go. All right.
So, and that really sums up the story of Passover. I mean, I guess the important part is when the the slaves were let go, the Israelites were let go, they left, and that's the story of Moses bringing them through the Red Sea, and the Red Sea parting, the people going through, and then the Pharaoh kind of reneges on his deal. He sends after his forces, and as Moses clears the Red Sea, and the Jewish people clear the Red Sea, God allows the Red Sea to close on the Pharaoh's troops, and they escape into the desert.
Right.
And then there was more strife from that point. Right.
But the key thing is, Passover has a universal theme for all people who are oppressed and enslaved or are held below their standard. And we celebrate the Israelites' version of it, but we're also celebrating freedom for all people. Okay, one of everybody's favorite songs during the Passover Seder is Dayenu. And the word Dayenu means it would have been enough. So the Israelites were so grateful to God for releasing them from slavery, giving them the Torah, making the Sabbath holy, and more, taking care of them, giving them food. The word Dayenu was, it would have been enough if just one thing happened. So, Ilu notan lanu, notan lanu et ha-Torah, notan lanu et ha-Torah, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Now one more. It would have been enough if God would have just given us the Sabbath. Ilu notan lanu, notan lanu et ha-Shabbat, notan lanu et ha-Shabbat, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
All right, so throughout the Passover Seder, we have a glass of wine 4 times. You know, why do we have, David Kitt, my dad too, why do we have 4 glasses, do you know? Or you don't know? I'm putting him on the spot.
So toward the end, we sing better. No, I really don't know.
You don't know? Okay, so what, you want to cheers for the first glass?
Sure.
We don't normally cheers, but
okay.
for today, okay? Cool. All right, Mom, you're going to tell us what this first course is here.
Well, this is a Singerman tradition. Not every household does this. It's not my favorite dish, but it's a command performance as far as Aaron's concerned. This is salty water with a hard-boiled egg in it. And it represents fertility, spring, renewal, and life.
Salt was for the tears, right?
And salt for the tears. And one year I had it with no soup like this, and I had lots of complaints, so we have it now. And this is our first course.
Okay, it's time for the second glass of wine. That was good. Okay, so this is course number 2. What do we got here, Mom?
This is matzo ball soup, and it is fabulous. It is actually chicken broth and matzo balls. And once again, the chicken broth represents the tears, And the matzah is the unleavened bread. And I don't know why, but the combination of the two is delicious.
All right, so this is the glass number 3. Here we go. Okay. All right, so this third course is the gefilte fish. Oh, thank you, Dana, for refilling my wine glass for the Manischewitz. Oh, that's a nice sized glass of wine for number 3. So this is the gefilte fish, and the gefilte fish really is a gelatin-like gelatinous fish substance that I believe is combined with a matzah or something in fish. Okay, so what we have here is the Passover plate, and every Passover, every Seder in the country has a plate, or at least they should have a plate, just like this.
With all the symbols.
With these symbols, or these symbolic foods on it, and I'm gonna do my best to tell you what's on this plate, and if I say anything wrong, I'll have my father, Jerry, correct me.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, test me. Here we go. Let's start with one. That says
Passover.
it says God on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Salt water.
Salt water represents the tears of the Jewish people.
Okay. Horosis.
Horosis is like the mortar that was used by the Jewish slaves to put the bricks to make stuff.
Right. Between the bricks and to build the pyramids, etc. Okay.
So that was pretty good.
All right. The parsley.
It's like agriculture.
Right. Renewal and springtime.
Okay, pretty close. Okay.
Horseradish. Very real
bitter.
horseradish.
It's bitter herbs.
Very
so
bitter.
It's like the hard times that we went through, right?
Right. Being a slave. Absolutely.
Being a slave.
The egg.
This one is a mystery to me. It's an egg. Mm-hmm. And what does an egg mean?
The egg, first of all, is a symbol of mourning. It's also a symbol of the circle of life and of renewal.
Okay.
And here is the Paschal lamb.
Now we kind of mentioned this before.
We talked about this.
This is like putting the blood on the door, and it's also sacrifice because it's in the temple we used to kill these as a sacrifice to God, right?
Right. So the angel of death would pass over the Israel homes and not bother the children.
Now, how would you say that I did?
I think you did very well.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. And the matzah. The matzah is very important.
This is important. It's not on there, but it should be. Okay. You want to tell? Do I go?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So when the Jews left Israel, when they left Egypt, and the Pharaoh let them go, they had no time to bake bread. So what they did was they put the dough on their backs that they would have normally baked, and when they walked into the desert, through the Red Sea and all that stuff, this was not able to be leavened. So instead, we have unleavened bread, and this is the matzah. So
right. They were in a hurry, so they had to get away from the Pharaoh's soldiers. And they baked the bread as fast as they could, did not have time to let it rise. So it's a symbol of freedom and the escape. But we really didn't mix it with the Red Sea, Aaron, because that would be soggy matzah. Okay? So
did I say we mixed it in the Red Sea?
Well, you said while they were going through the Red Sea.
Well, the Red Sea was parted.
Okay, so we made sure the water stayed on the sides and we kept the matzah dry.
So what you're looking at now is the festive meal. And the first thing on the festive, thank you, David. The first thing I'm going to point out is or David's going to actually point out, is the brisket. And the brisket is a meat, and it's very obviously high in protein, and that's our main protein source. Now, our next thing is the potatoes, which is also very tasty. Now, my favorite thing on the dish we're looking at now is the carrot souffle. The carrot souffle is my favorite because not only is it tasty, but it's filled with sugar. It's lovely. Next is the broccoli with almonds. You see, Mom has almonds in there for the essential fatty acids. Now, next we have the, what'd you call this, Dad?
The
Pink stuff.
The
Horseradish.
The horseradish, which is not very good. It's bitter.
But some people like it.
And some people do enjoy it. Dad likes it every year. He looks forward to this, and I find it revolting. Now, the next thing is the matzah, which we're going to talk about in more detail later. But matzah is the universal symbol of Passover. When you see matzah, you think Passover. This is the last glass of wine for the evening. This will be the fourth glass, and I guess I drank Elijah's glass too, so this will be the 5th glass of wine. And this is signifies the end of the meal and the beginning of dessert, my favorite portion of the meal. So, all right, so the festive meal is over. Passover is done for this year, and I just want to use this opportunity to thank my mom here. She provided this whole meal and set up the dining room table, set up the house, and invited us myself, of course, and RX Muscle in for Passover this year. And I just want to thank you very much. You're a good mama.
Well, I just want to say, Passover's not over. The Seder's over. Passover continues. But I also want to tell any girl out there that thinks this guy is a hunk,
Oh, good mama.
you got to be able to do a Passover Seder too. So,
Oh, boy.
you know what that means. And these are my feathered family members.
Now, did they always make this much noise? Or
Only when
horrendous?
they're scared and
what-
the camera is scaring her.
Oh.
So if you left the room, she'd get quiet again.
This egg's roasted. Yes, it's roasted. No eggs Benedict or scrambled can be found. And this egg looks like it's long been underground. Life's a cycle like an egg, it's round and round.